we have finished, technically, did you look up those other 2 books? Because we have finished the Foundation trilogy technically. We're at the chronological end.
I'm pretty sure, because I think I didn't look it up, but at the end of the book, because I was actually reading it. No, it remember in the last one I told you I made sure not to go forward. Mm-hmm. Well, that same thing, they did the same thing where it's the Foundation series.
Oh yeah, give a preview.
The first book, yeah. So it was
no preview.
Whatever, so many years.
Yeah. So
I didn't read it, so I'm gonna say I don't know, but at the same time, it's looking like it actually is a prelude and a forward.
Yep, it's 2
to the whole
prequels.
Series.
Yeah, 2 prequels to Foundation, which would technically be
Star
last
Wars moment
on the list. Yeah, exactly. But Foundation and Earth is the chronological last in the series. So, before we jump into it, I'm gonna keep it real.
What did you think?
I was kind of disappointed.
Me too.
Well, there you go. See you next time, folks.
Bye.
I know why. Why do you? I felt like.
I think all right. Let's just skim through. It was really very quickly. They travel. They hop around to all these planets. Mm-hmm. We expose Bliss to a bunch of different isolate societies.
Yeah.
And Travis and Pellerot to these people. We've kidnapped a child, a hermaphrodite child. Yeah, and then the last place we make it to is Earth. Mm. It's radioactive.
Yep.
So there's nothing hidden on it. And what's hidden is that a robot that's 20,000 years old is on the moon of Earth.
Yeah.
And he has been pulling the strings on everything, trying to save Earth since it became radioactive. Yeah, trying to save humanity since it became Earth became radioactive. Mm-hmm. He's behind Gaia. He's behind the Selden plan.
Exactly, yeah.
He's behind everything.
He's behind psychohistory.
And he's dying, so he needs to merge himself with another being. Originally, the being he planned.
I just love if somebody's watching this for the first. By the way, there's spoilers. When I heard
spoiler alert,
Daniil Olival, when they said it was him, I was like,
yeah, isn't he
I was
the robot?
So happy.
He's from the robot series?
Yeah. So I was so happy. But everybody picks on Star Wars and all these, and anime has a huge problem with this too. I'm like, it is. I feel like Asimov writing this for himself, kind of, or it's fan servicey for himself and for the.
I do feel these last 2 books. I totally see why it's the trilogy.
Yeah.
And then why some people don't even really I just feel like he just decided to just throw these things in here. It feels very.
Yeah, it was just random thoughts that he had, and like I said, fan service. He was touching on things.
It's a lot of fan service.
And it's so long, by the way. It's twice the length, which I was saying earlier when we started it, because there was a good forward.
And I felt like so much of it was so.
But it's because he was getting that money. He got paid more. I was saying it's so weird to see how humble he was.
He had to make it so many words.
Yeah, because they, in the forward of this book, they give a crazy history on how humble it was, how you had to call up these certain magazines to get the Foundation series. It went out of print, I think, at one point or something.
Something happened, and then they called him and they were like, "Hey, it's your shit's fire, so we need you." He says he was forced to write a bazillion.
Yeah, but they were like, "You're crazy." So I'm blanking on the name of the company, but they're iconic. I'd remember when I see it. But they are the ones who made this so famous for all these later generations. And
you owe me, so write me another one.
Yeah, but that is it. So they gave him a thing, and you get paid. They wanted it to be a longer book.
Super crazy good advance.
Mm-hmm. And that's why these last 2 books are the longest books of the whole series.
Was so long,
and it did feel like it. And
it felt kind of dragged out. There were times where I was like, I could put this down and be okay.
Because it sucks, though. It's not like another writer being too long or something. Part of what I was saying in the first one is that I love Asimov's style of, he'll say, "Oh, we're going to do this," and then the next paragraph will be there. Because we don't need to hear what you ate today. We don't need to hear what you're wearing. We don't need to hear random conversations. Yeah. It was very...
And then, 2 of the planets was just so he could write sex scenes, I feel.
Yeah, I know. And then we get a lot of weird sexual stuff. I was joking about it before, but I was like, Yeah, on top of being unnecessary and dragged out.
The only thing is, like, on the last planet they visited where things were sexual, there was, like, joking between him and Bliss. And I do like that he finally had them
warm up
a little bit. I was kind of getting tired of them just constantly bickering.
Yeah,
I totally get them debating each other, but it was like every 2 seconds they were at each other like cats and dogs, and then it would, like, things would, like, repeat themselves.
Yeah, well, because he has
constantly.
Jesus, I want to say Peloton. How the hell have I read this book so long? Pelorat. Because, and that's why we thought, oh, she must be controlling his mind, because Pelorat will come in and make a not even that interesting second version of something Bliss just said, or vice versa, you know? And it's like, yeah, it's like so on the nose. I'm like, all right, there's clearly mind control going on here.
But no, she claims she's just being a lady.
Yeah. But
sorry. But it's true. She was like, all right, I tried it. He didn't listen to me. Yeah. See if he'll listen to you. Like, same idea, but you say it.
Yeah. But they weren't even philosophically that interesting, I gotta say, which is a critique, you know, obviously, Asimov's writing all this. It was more of like, really? These are like the best arguments you could make for like why, like some of the arguments in my head for why Gaia makes sense is like it's just a planetary size human.
First of all,
I mean, a galaxy size human.
I'm not happy. Like, so the decision in the first book was that he chose, or was it the first book?
The last book before
these two. The previous book, Travis chose Gaia, which is this concept that we're all going to become one giant blended being.
Yeah, everybody's aware of like each other's senses. They claim to be independent, right? But they all, the Borg is definitely inspired by this, or like they're all inspired from something.
They're all connected.
But the Borg don't even claim to have individuality. I don't think.
These people claim to have individuality. I'm throwing in quotation marks.
Yeah.
Because then every time he's like, Bliss, I'm talking to you as like, fucking Bliss throws that shit around. And she constantly flip-flops.
Yeah. And like, she actually
she'll be like, I am still Bliss, the individual, but I am Gaia. And so, like, whenever it's convenient, she's not Bliss the individual, she is Gaia. But whenever it's convenient again, she's still Bliss the individual with individual feelings. How dare you assume that she doesn't have those?
There's so many cool, deeper things that I was ranting to you about, that because she finished the book 2 days before I did or something, so we didn't want to talk about it too much. We want to do it all fresh on here.
I really didn't want to talk to him about it because I also knew, I was like, if I say too much, he's going to figure out the ending. I
remember I told you something. I was like, all right, Asimov must be going for this and this. And,
you had like so many theories, and I was like,
none of them were really. But I'm saying philosophical, like not even plot things. I was like, Asimov's gonna have to pull this back to why there's a just something unique about individuals in clusters. We all might have shared goals, and the shared, like they say, history is a living thing, like the spirit of progress or the spirit of history, but it's still because of individuals. And they claim that they're individuals, but they also keep meddling in everybody's opinions. And I thought of this. This is one of the analogies I wanted to make. Everybody critiques CIA stuff, even if you don't want to blame them. And this wasn't true, but I don't know if you remember during 2020, all these big protests, some of them turned into riots, and there was big, at least on social media, claiming there was big piles of bricks. People put bricks out there.
I remember that, and you were like,
and I think that got debunked. But the point is, the governments, whether you don't think the CIA does, some governments do shit like this on purpose. And they purposely enable, they say, we didn't do it. We just gave them the means to do it. And there were people in the group that already wanted to do the thing. But that's true for any group of people. Everybody has a million different emotions or goals that they want to have in that day. We want to stick to a diet, but you also want to eat the cheesecake. Like, you have both of those thoughts in your head. And then Bliss comes in, and all these Gaians come in, and they go, and even our Daniil, so, like the robot at the end, Daniil, he says, oh, I can't do anything that people didn't want to do. That's one of the laws. He can't force people to do things.
So the reason...
But they make one of the paths easier. You know, I put a pile of bricks in front of agitated youths.
Exactly.
They wouldn't have been smashing the stores if I didn't give them the bricks.
So, like, in a lot of the cases where they were stuck, these women would be kind of interested in Travis. So Bliss would just very lightly make it so that they very clearly saw they were into him.
But that's the difference between every dude being like, visually, this is an attractive woman, and then saying, so I put some I put drugs in his drink, so now he had sex with her, so he cheated on you. It's like, but he wasn't gonna cheat. He was sexually attracted to this woman, but he wasn't gonna cheat on you, on his,
What bothers me
she jumps in and makes them have sex. Yeah. Through her psychic powers.
Well, no, it turns out, by the way,
just
it wasn't even Bliss.
Just because they might have had an attraction to it.
It was Daniil through Bliss.
Yeah.
Which was even more confusing.
And for a sci-fi writer like Asimov, it's so hand-wavy, like how this happens. Like, yeah, he just...
I have it highlighted here.
Go ahead. Hit him with
it. Pellerat said, wait a while. I think I see something. Are you part of Gaia yourself, Daniil? Would that be how you knew about the dogs on Aurora through Bliss? Mm-hmm. Daniil said, in a way, sir, you are correct. I am associated with Gaia, though I am not part of it. Slowly, Daniil nodded. I suppose that analogy is apt, sir. I can, as an associate of Gaia, make myself aware of what Gaia is aware of. In the person of the woman Bliss, for instance, Gaia, however, cannot make itself aware of what I am aware of, so that I maintain my freedom of action. That freedom of action is necessary until Galaxia is well established. And did you use your awareness through Bliss in order to interfere with events on our journey to mold them to your better liking?
Yeah.
Daniil sighed in a curiously human fashion. I could not do much, sir. The laws of robotics always hold me back, and yet I lightened the load on Bliss's mind, taking a small amount of added responsibility on myself so that she might deal with the wolves of Aurora and the spacer on Solaria with greater dispatch and with less harm to herself. In addition, I influenced the woman on Comporleon and the one in New Earth through Bliss in order to have them look with favor on you, so that you might continue on your journey. So he did all of that through Bliss, and Bliss had absolutely no idea, because every time we asked her, and she was right.
Mm-hmm.
Bliss, did you do something? No, I did not. Because of course she didn't. Daniil was literally working through her.
But also for her whole claim that she doesn't have individuality, that she does have individuality. She does.
She didn't have control.
But she does admit, she thinks that she did it sometimes. I don't remember specifically, but I remember there were times where she...
There were times
because I've been bitching about her meddling with things.
There were times that she would smooth past in quotation marks, but she didn't with she didn't want anything to do with that New Earth lady. She didn't do shit there.
All right. But I guess, but how does
she was literally annoyed at
the
New Earth girl?
Yeah, I guess you could say that she's certain she knows. By the way, quick ruin of momentum. But I'm gonna give pat ourselves on the back here. This is the first little series we're doing. And both of us hid that we were kind of getting annoyed with the book or lost or confused with the book.
Yeah.
We really did a good scientific job of not tainting each other's impressions of it. So that was cool. Back to the angry rant. Again, to my point, I don't know if I was clear, but if there's a bar fight and you give a guy a knife and you go, he was angry anyways, he wanted to kill him anyways, or you could have, grabbed him and walked him outside, or you could have said something to calm it down. All of those are true. Those are all paths that you could say. I mean, he did what he wanted, but you chose to do it. So I thought Asimov was gonna tie this up at the end with some cool, like, it's gonna be still freedom of choice. Like, he killed off the second foundation, or not killed it off, but made it irrelevant through a point that I actually kind of like. We'll get to that in a minute.
This book made everything irrelevant.
Well, when you have a fucking god, a fan service god, I love Daniil. Like, love him. I hope you don't transfer over this hate to the robot series. Read it as a separate thing that was written 30 years earlier, at least 20.
As a standalone series that it is.
Yeah. Asimov did this without Disney coming in. Because think about if you think Darth Vader's lame or some shit, or you don't like the prequels because of shit that Disney does.
This is like when they brought Palpatine
don't
back,
dump that on Ahsoka.
Bro.
Yeah, don't dump that on Luke or Anakin or anything. Yeah, alright, Luke's the best example. Still love Luke. Don't pay attention to Disney Luke. Daniil is great.
Yeah, that is actually a better analogy.
Yeah, Daniil and all those adventures that he kind of spoils some, but I didn't even know all of them because I didn't read all the Robot series books. I read the first 2 or 3, I think. Yeah.
It doesn't spoil
and he
enough.
didn't spoil Caves of Steel in this one.
And if anything, it entices you to read.
He info dumps so much at the end. I was like, dude, as a guy who does videos on YouTube critiquing the Godfather of sci-fi, I'm like, this is bad writing objectively. No, this is just a giant info dump at the end of your 15-hour book. I don't know, how long but it's twice the length of the normal of all his other books.
You get to like 70% completion with this book, and you're like,
where's Earth?
Where's Earth?
Yeah, because too, it's not like a mystery.
You get to like 80%, and you're like, okay.
Yeah.
Then literally between like 90-something% to like the end of the book, it's just info dump that could have been spread out where like from probably like 60% of the book.
Yeah.
When you get to like 50-60% of the book to like
double the size.
80%, you could have got rid of that entire section.
Yeah, we didn't need to go to as many planets to make your weird points about.
We just had to steal that kid.
It's so on the nose too. Like, this planet is completely empty and nature is chaos without life.
We could have gone to just Aurora.
Yeah.
Solaria. And
which to be the fan service point, you don't know this, but these are all planets from the Robot series, so it's literally fan service throughout.
Yeah. So we could have just gone to Aurora, Solaria, and the place where they get the coordinates.
Melpomania.
Yeah.
But it's so not even
those three. You could have just done those three and gone to Earth.
See,
but then we stop at New Earth. We stop at. Was New Earth
Melpomania?
Really?
New Earth is a city on Melpomania, I think.
No. No,
that's the Moss city. Yeah, Moss planet is Melpomania.
No, the Moss planet is Aurora.
Yeah. Oh, Moss planet is Melpomania.
Okay.
And then they go to Alpha Centauri, which is where they find Alpha, the planet, which I like that. That was a cool explanation. Like, we call it Alpha Centauri now, but his whole logic was Alpha Centauri, that must be the first. So maybe that could be where Earth is, because Alpha's the first. And Gaia comes from that same ancient language
could have
from
just
Greek.
given us that information on the ship, and we never had to get down.
Yeah, but they wanted to learn about the stuff. I don't know. I don't hate it that they had to go down to learn.
We literally have New Earth just so that they could go down.
It's even
fall susceptible to these people, making them feel welcome. Have Treves have sex with this girl so that she can infect him with a disease that her and her community plan to kill him with.
Yeah.
For them to find out that they're like this in between where they're not spacefaring, but they're able to control the weather because Daniil sent, you don't know this, but they were sent there from Earth.
Yeah.
And they had support from the Empire at some point, but they're still running on fluorescent lights. Yeah. And they play
the Empire at its peak helped them build their little island that they live on.
Yeah.
It's a big island.
This planet's just what is that world in Star Wars where it just rains?
Yeah, Camino.
It's basically Camino.
Yeah.
Except they made a really tropical, beautiful little island
they all run
patch.
around topless.
Yeah.
Which Asimov had to throw in. I don't know, man. He was free loving in the 80s or something. He was on that good coke or something.
That boy was on that
I don't understand.
That good coke and alcohol.
Yeah, really. I really wonder. I don't know much about his actual life. But the whole point of that was to show even these free love, super happy. They seem like it's literally Moana. It's high-tech Moana where everybody stays here. Nobody has to leave. And they're on an island and everybody gets along. And it's all beautiful. It's like hippies if it actually worked.
They
and
have
it has high-tech comforts.
Of fish and they have all
They just literally eat and party all day. But they still have real
to kill
tech
these
society.
People
but they kill off-worlders with this microbiological agent.
So that nobody can know that they're there.
Yeah, to keep themselves hidden and all that. But, so that's the whole point, though, so that in the calculation for why Gaia makes sense, you can point to, say, look, even the free love Moana hippie island place, even they had this crazy, cruel, kill the outsider impulse.
I mean, I get it, but maybe I'm just frustrated that we were there so long.
But I'm just critiquing Asimov
and something just feels
not
ridiculous that we hop around so much.
Yeah.
I felt like.
But I'm saying it's all in the nose. They all have these little. I get that I say I like about Foundation, the first book in the series, that a kid could read it. People read that in 5th grade, even middle school. So it might sound weird that I'm saying these are so childish and oh, the moral of this world, the whole world is just so clearly a moral lesson. So like Solaria is pure independence. Nobody ever sees anybody. They got robot slaves, and it's just pure independence, the exact opposite of Gaia. And then this one is, look, humans could all live in peace and kumbaya. Oh no, they're evil. And then the next one, is that before? One of these is the Moss one. Yeah, before that was the Moss one, which is just pure chaos. The natural state of nature is just mindless death, just algae killing things to survive. Like there's no intellect, there's no logos.
I mean, technically we don't know that. Like Bliss does make a point. I have it highlighted, but I don't feel like scrolling that far back.
Go ahead.
But Bliss makes a point where, because what happens on that planet is they land and they kind of notice this moss thing and they're like, whatever, that's cool. And then when they're heading back to the ship, like they start to panic because they realize that this moss is growing on them like exponentially fast. And it's that this moss is attracted to carbon dioxide and they have so much of it leaking out of themselves in the ship. So the moss is like even growing on the ship, and like their fear is that this moss could just like spread quickly and eat them, and it can like infect other planets or take over the ship. And Bliss was like, I mean, it could have literally like died by tomorrow. We don't know. Like, y'all are freaking out. Like,
but she does her whole, like, again, like, that's what I mean by it doesn't even seem high level refined like writing skill. It's so, all of it's so on the nose where, so now we sit down after each planet that we go to, that is, you know, comically you brought up Camino, like Star Wars, everybody jokes the whole planets are just one biome, you know, sand planet, forest planet, lava planet. So these are all like moral lesson planet. Like, the whole thing is just for this one purpose, but also if you didn't get it, we have a literal sit down between him and Bliss where they do intro philosophy class debates. Like, well, don't you have a whole bunch of cells in your body? So aren't you like Gaia? And it's like these kind of like, come on, man, that's not even that deep of a point. And that's what they do after this too. And so you get this whole little back and forth. And I remember, maybe you're thinking too, like, she was saying that there's a uniqueness to all life, so who knows? It almost has the point, like everybody says, you find random cures for diseases and, you know, a random plant, and you can't let shit go extinct on Earth because you never know which little flower somewhere was going to cure some disease.
Well, that's it. She literally said, she said something along the lines of, like, you don't know.
I know she explicitly says what you said, like the it could die thing. It might not have been a threat either. But also that if it was incorporated into Gaia, like, there is something to gain even by what seems like just pointless moss. Just a big old green, no life, no intelligent life. You know, not even the simplest of plants or, you know, oysters or something. Certainly not large mammals. One weird point I want to bring up that was cool. I like the whole Alpha Centauri thing. And Alpha Centauri it has a 3 solar... What do you call it? It's a 3-body problem. That's where the aliens come from, in 3-body.
So it was hilarious because you've read and we watched the 3-body problem. I was like, wouldn't it be very hard to live here?
Yeah, I know. Isn't that funny? But that's the peace loving. I don't know if they knew that in the 80s, whatever, when he wrote that. So I'm not giving him a knock for that. They probably did. It was just really funny. Yeah, I think they would have. But, and he called it a binary star system, but it's a 3. But it is also our closest one, so I liked when they did the whole map. Like, that's why they don't know if we came from this 3-body system or from this one, you know, sun, this one star system. But they also, he admits, he says, but that must be Earth. Earth couldn't be a 3-body.
I found the quote, by the way.
Oh, go ahead.
Because she said, life is not necessarily dangerous because it is different. You are so ready to kill. That's Gaia speaking, said Travis. Of course it is, but I hope I make sense nevertheless. The moss is adapted to conditions of this world. Just as it makes use of light in small quantities, but is killed by large, it may not be capable of surviving on any world but Melpomania.
Yeah. That conversation, I don't know if it's around there, but you triggered memory. He has Travis make a whole point that, which I thought was a decent one. I'm critiquing the low-level philosophy here, but where he says there is a Goldilocks zone on most things. Like, a person doesn't want to be 8 feet tall, like that's actually bad for your health.
Yeah.
Like, but an elephant should be tall, like big, like
I do remember that. I'm trying to remember.
There's a whole thing, but apparently that goes out the window when he gets to Daniil. It just seems rushed at the end, which is so odd. They literally introduce him in the audiobook version. It's maybe an hour long, where everything's summarized in that 1 hour. So it's 14 hours long, and it's summarized in an hour. You just get introduction of our Daniil. That's why I call it fan service. You love him, so it's going to be so cool, and so you're not going to question anything he says. And it's like, but this whole time, I get that the point is that the whole trip keeps showing him these lessons, these little P.3 dishes, examples of civilization, of cultures, and you go, damn, we need Gaia. But you don't see that part. I don't remember, was there a part where he starts to say like, maybe I should...
No, at the end, we actually have this, so this is the problem with the entire ending. Or not the problem, but one of the problems I have. We go through all of this. He meets all these other planets. He still doesn't feel that any of them justify him not be staying an individual. Yeah. We have Daniil basically say, because he's like, so you brought me here to merge my brain with yours? And Daniil's like, originally...
Yeah, sorry, we didn't get into that. Daniil needs to live because his brain has so much memory that it's lived for 20,000 years. And the robots are not supposed to live that long. He's already transferred into newer brains, but every time you do this, it gets shorter and shorter because he still has all his memories. So I forgot what wall maybe I have a quote, but he compared it to some physics law. But basically, he's gonna keep running out of space quicker and quicker.
So what's happening is that he's trudging, he's like dragging all of his memory, and he basically keeps creating these more complex brains, but they're entirely mechanical, and he's just running out of like the amount of power that he needs in order to keep all these memories and be able to access them immediately whenever he needs them. It like takes so much power that he's just killing off, like the machines aren't able to keep up, so he needs to merge his mechanical brain with an organic one.
Which will die, you might say, but the Solarians, but a lot of the spacers live for hundreds of years.
I found it.
Okay. And Gaia should only take a couple hundred years to come about. This galactic-size organism.
So each time the contents of my earlier brain were etched into the newer one, to the last positron, each time the new brain had a greater capacity and complexity than the old, so that there was room for more memories and for faster decision and action, but... the more advanced and complex the brain, the more unstable it is, and the more quickly it deteriorates. My present brain is 100,000 times as sensitive as my first and has 10 million times the capacity. But whereas my first brain endured for over 10,000 years, the present one is but 600 years old and is unmistakably senescent.
What?
Sorry. Senescent. Like
sentient? No?
No. Look at the word.
Let me see. I'm coming.
This one. It's just my pronunciation.
It's okay. Yeah, go ahead.
With every memory of 20,000 years perfectly recorded and with the perfect recall mechanism in place, the brain is filled. There is a rapidly declining ability to reach decisions, an even more rapidly declining ability to test and influence minds at hyperspatial distances.
What is the physics of that, Asimov? Did we ever get an explanation of how this can happen across space-time?
Magic.
You get the quantum entanglement like happens across space-time and all that, but for as much super low-level philosophizing we get between these two, between Bliss and Trevize, it's like, all right, we could have throw us a little bone on how this shit works.
To Gaia, so.
But also that it's reduced at a distance, but I get he's the perfect robot man.
He's connected to Gaia too.
And he put all these plans in place. So, yeah.
So he
is Gaia.
I have been carrying on in the hope that I might find one. I think I have, instead of replacing my brain with yet another positronic one, which is impractical. I might merge it with a human brain instead, a human brain that is not affected by the 3 laws and will not only add capacity to my brain, but add a whole new level of abilities as well. That is why I have brought you here. So he's basically thinking this is his way around the 3 laws also, which I think doesn't really get explicitly stated.
Yeah.
He's basically like, this is my way to stop being a robot. And then technically he would be able to force his will on others because he will no longer have he will no longer be limited by the 3 laws.
As long and as annoying this part was, in some parts, I'm like, it really did seem like it was building up to another book. That's why I googled. I was like, all right, the next 2 must be sequels.
But they're like,
but they're not.
I mean, even the end, the end makes me think that there's another book.
Yeah. So it ends with the whole point, which was the best case I gave to Gaia, which is, and even in my comparisons with Mass Effect, that you need a galaxy-sized organism to fight. Fucking space is big, folks. There could be multi-galaxy-sized organisms. There could be linked whole cosmic clusters.
Basically realizes that he was correct in picking Gaia because another galaxy somewhere may have intelligent life that has already basically galaxia'd their galaxy. Yeah. And if they're that intelligent, they could eventually turn on them and try to suck them up into their super organism. So if they're going to at least stay their own super organism, like Galaxia,
it's just single-celled organisms all the way down.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you ever watched on YouTube, it's weirdly sad to watch the death of a single-celled organism, and they just do their little thing to each other and they eat each other, and it's like, well, it just keeps scaling up. One city imposes its will on another, one tribe, one person, and it just scales all the way to where whole solar systems, to whole galaxies. Like I said, it could be a multi-galaxy thing. So he thinks it's just simple game theory. You don't know that. You got to assume they're doing that. So, and I actually like, this might seem weird contradiction, I like the logic of the whole, when you think of sci-fi, you think of aliens. And what's cool about Asimov series is that there are no aliens. So I know it's weird. I could see a critique, like, really, you throw an alien threat at the very end?
Yeah, you got that too, but I was like,
well, yeah, that homeboy, the hermaphrodite homeboy is an alien or some shit.
Possibly.
I'll read the exact last words. Because they're talking about there could be, at least there's no threat here in our galaxy, because we should have time to complete Gaia. Gaia should only take a couple 100 years. After all, and here Therese felt a sudden twinge of trouble, which he forced himself to disregard. Hilarious. It's not as though we had the enemy already here among us, and he did not look down to meet the brooding eyes of Phalum, hermaphroditic, transductive, different, as they rested unfathomably on him. So the kid's looking up and staring at him, this kid with this crazy extra organ, alien abilities that stun everybody, including Gaia. And so he's staring up at him as he goes, at least it's not as though the enemy's already here among us. And he forces himself to disregard that thought.
But I don't understand. So, like...
But he's not. He's a human. He's not from a different galaxy.
Phalum was a human.
Yeah.
So, unless aliens are the ones that corrupted Teleria...
Yeah, already.
Yeah.
Like, they are. That's the whole point.
If Therese... So, like, Therese has this line where he's like... Because he's basically told that he was brought there to merge brains with him. And he says, it would take a long time to establish, and I would remain an individual in my lifetime. On the other hand, if it were established rapidly, there would be a galactic loss of individuality, and my own loss would be part of an unimaginably greater whole. So he's basically like, I don't want to do this. And he even tells him, like, you want my independence of the 3 laws and my sense of judgment made part of you at the price of my individuality? No. So Daniil says, it is then, as I thought, your brain would not merge well, and in any case, it would serve a better purpose if you retained an independent judgmental ability. So I'm like, great. But
so then why would he be good for Gaia
suspicious that...
Of independent thinking.
That, and also you're suspicious that Phalum is an alien. You've already agreed that Gaia is the way to go.
I hope.
What is the point of you staying an individual?
The biggest...
Other than just being a dick.
Yeah. But, yeah, exactly. The biggest...
Because, like, so you never liked Phalum. Phalum always made you nervous. You're now hearing that Daniil is planning to merge his brain with Phalum's.
Yeah.
And that makes you uneasy. You're almost always right.
Yeah. They picked you because you're right. And we keep getting reminded of that.
Yeah.
Throughout the whole book.
The entire book, he's just always right.
Yeah.
And instead of just sticking to his gut and being like, yeah, I mean, if I've chosen this path and we should stick to this path, and he has to merge brains with someone, I have to give up my individuality, which as a species we will all give up anyway in 200 years.
Yeah. Yeah, what's the difference? I mean, it's just...
Other than literally that line where he's like, I just get to live out my life as an individual, and y'all get to figure this shit out 200 years after I'm dead.
Yeah, but it's so weird cowardice. Like, if it's wrong, if you feel like you don't want to lose it, then maybe the rest of the entire effing galaxy doesn't want to lose it either.
I know.
One of the best points, and like I said, Mass Effect took this.
I thought that they were gonna at least be able to like talk to Daniil or like convince them otherwise.
You impose this on everybody against their will. That's what's funny, and you can argue that is how all historical events happen. I joke, the internet was imposed on us.
Now that he knows all the secrets of the fucking universe,
Daniil is going to merge with an alien.
Not Daniil, Trevize.
Yeah, I know.
Like,
he's gonna ride off into the sunset. And he's gonna go bang fucking broads all across the stars. These random aliens.
Like, you find out that a robot is gonna merge brains with another kid.
With an alien. Like you said, like, you're trying to imply that when he says...
With an enemy alien.
He's forcing himself not to look at the thing. And it's a good thing that the alien's not here with us now.
And then,
as the thing's looking up at him.
You also know that this robot is the one that made things like the Selden Plan, which the First Foundation and Second Foundation are adhering to.
Yeah. I just love, like, bro, you decide. So, like, why am I even here? Why are you acting like I'm deciding? You're going to merge your brain with the alien kid anyways. So why are you asking me? You made the Selden Plan. You made Gaia. I don't really get what Trevize does. Except for... To point, look, this is what I was going to say, where I'll give Asimov a little credit here, which I think is a cool esoteric way to view all media. Maybe you're supposed to look at this and be disappointed. Maybe the point is to be upset. This is the same thing with Mass Effect. Like, it's okay if you picked Control, where you become a Reaper, or the other one, a Synthesis, where you make everybody one big, like this, you make them all Gaia. But maybe you should regret that when you see it. The whole point is that let's live out the bad ending in fiction so that we live out the good ending in real life. Sometimes the lesson you're supposed to get from these stories is that you're not supposed to do them.
I worry that too many people would read this and be like, this makes a lot of sense.
Of course. I mean, that's what a lot of these thinkers I like, they point out this stuff with biblical stories. You know, why would they include stuff like Genesis, where the snake is telling you that you're going to live forever? Like, they literally have the line where God says, don't let them have the next thing, because then they'll live forever. Don't let them have wisdom. Don't let them have this and that. Like, they include things to make you realize who the bad guy is. This is a Greek thing too, where Zeus punishes Prometheus, but Prometheus is the one helping us. So one of the theories is they included that to make you feel like, man, all of these people are sheep around me. They're all over here worshiping Zeus when Zeus is our enemy. And that was right in the open.
I feel like I could maybe give you that if it wasn't for the fact that this felt so disconnected from the first two trilogy set. And I felt like there were some things where he was pulling on an idea and then he just he derailed compared to where I was thinking. Like, one of the things I was thinking of is because Trevize at different points throughout the book, he's realizing that there must be something in just obviously wrong that we're overlooking with the Selden Plan.
Mm-hmm.
And originally, because he keeps focusing on the fact that the Selden Plan, like, nobody knows anything about the Selden Plan mathematically except for the Second Foundation, but there must be something so obvious that it's obvious to the people that only know it by its basic rules. And the two basic rules are that it has to work with a giant population, and the giant population can't know the solution or the end result of what they're working towards. Now, the thing is that the population does, in my mind, know that they're all working towards the Second Empire. So, in a funny way, I was like, isn't that the obvious thing? That we all know that we're working towards the Second Empire? So, that's the problem? That because the entire population knows that, like...
Yeah, in a funny way,
they're
not
the flaw?
Trying to make their own empire. Like Rome didn't rise like trying to be the Roman Empire. They were just trying to do what everybody else was doing, and they just did it better.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know what you mean. They know they're trying to replace the first empire.
Like they know that they're supposed to do it within 1,000 years.
Yeah. I don't want to lose this thought. But I don't trust me. The end of 1984. Super spoiler. Here we go. Told you there's spoilers even for books we're not talking about. But this is. I feel like people know and then he loved Big Brother. Like he gets the whole point is you're supposed to be horrified. You're not supposed to be happy at the ending of 1984 and go, oh, maybe the lesson of of 1984 was that totalitarian governments are good, and look how peaceful he is at the end because he loves Big Brother. So maybe you're supposed to be screaming at the end of this book like, what? Okay. Fucking shoot Daniil. Kill him. Don't let him merge with the alien.
That makes
sense. Because the alien's looking at you.
Kill Daniil.
Kill them both. He's saying that line at the very end there is definitely implying.
If you kill Daniil, then you actually do end up where no one is he's the one that's pulling all the strings in the back end. So if he dies,
I know it's true. The kid's just
Gaia could potentially continue on the path.
But to your point, the only thing that this line can mean here at the end is that he's all but saying that the Solarian mutation is alien. It is that threat from the other galaxy. It is not as though we had the enemy already here among us. Like, that's ironic. It's sardonic, perhaps. It's him saying it is here. Yeah. It is right here. That's why he's staring up at me, looking at me all creepy, because it is here. So you're clearly left with like this. You're supposed to be hit with that gut punch at the end, like 1984. Like, holy fuck! This is the bad ending.
You have Treves literally explain to Bliss, the child was brought up by a robot and knew nothing else on an estate as empty as this one. The child has transductive powers which Daniil will need, and she will live for 3 or 4 centuries, which may be what is required for the construction of Galaxia. So like, these were all alien things. The fact that they make...
Yeah, I mean,
like, just in support of what you're saying, we're like,
but where if that's what he was going for, this whole hidden meaning, or this whole, I don't know what you want to call it, but you're supposed to be upset with how the story goes, that still doesn't let him off the hook for one, the structure, one, the length clearly imposed by the publisher, I think, not having to do with sticking to your story, the basic intro philosophy back and forth arguments were also weak. There's some other point I wanted to make in there. Oh, sorry. In the frontal lobe thing, though, I was saying like, oh, cool. He's playing with the idea that like we think we're so qualitatively, like, because they called themselves full humans. The Solarians were full humans, but they call us half humans. Just like we would look at like other apes, other primates, and go, I get they got a lot of our parts, but they're not us. We have such a more developed frontal lobe that we are qualitatively, we're a different species. Like, same thing with these guys. I mean, he was playing with that idea with the whole lobe. They have their own special lobe.
I remember.
They're not so alien. They got like fucking 12 eyes and tentacles or something. Like, so that's all that makes them alien.
Those transductor things that were.
But it's mutually. Then I'm like, but then, bro, you can't just drop that at the end. If in like minutes long, because at this point that's literally only a couple paragraphs at the very, very, very end, and that doesn't explain, like I said, I'm kind of stuck where I think that ending is saying he's an alien, but also no, we know they're literally biological descendants of humans.
I mean, they could be biological descendants of humans
interfered with. The Anunnaki, baby. Like all the ancient alien theories.
I feel like he literally was like, this plot twist, woo! Like, you didn't build up at all for them to have been able... Like, the Solarians tell this story of how they went underground and, like, messed with their genes and all this stuff. Yeah. And then... Yeah, the Solarians made themselves this. That, aliens somehow... But then you're going to imply that it's alien on Solaria, went underground, didn't just tamper with their genes, I guess had sex with Solarians, and, like...
But only enough to give them a lobe on our brain. Yeah. Like, it's our human brain, it just has an extra lobe. Just
and like other Homo species. you're gonna be a hermaphrodite and have robots raise your kids. Like,
yeah, it's very strange. I just feel like it's all tacked on, all just put together, thrown together at the end there. It seems so strange, but I was thinking this. Remember, even the early beginning, I was like, I don't know if I'm just distracted or if it's me that's off or if the book is off. I remember saying that. I think even before our first recording talk. Like I said, we didn't want to influence each other too much, but that thought was popping up in my head because it just seems like he had all these different ideas he wanted to play with, like even the pronoun stuff, even some of the gender stuff, like, well, what's the difference in this and that, and you would call this other stuff, like there's random sociological points made throughout too. Just like, all right, cool, but where the fuck is Earth, and why are we distracting from taking away the will of an entire galaxy?
Foundation 1 was great.
Foundation 1 was
Foundation
classic.
2, the first half is weak. The second half is so much better.
Mm-hmm.
Foundation 3 is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Foundation 4 throws you into this weird,
strange.
Like, it wasn't bad,
exactly.
but you're
I
like,
don't think it's bad.
What is going to happen next?
But
because you clearly
and it did make us want to read this one. I gotta admit.
Like, it finishes where you feel it's a cliffhanger. You feel like you need to find out what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Foundation 5 has left me blue-balled.
Confused and sad, where I just go like, it's alright. It's how I felt with a lot of Star Wars stuff too. That's why I keep making that comparison. Like, alright, I'm not mad at you. Like, I'm going to be intellectually reserved. I'm not hating the rest of your shit. Because you just feel like you lost focus. Like, it just felt like this was weird and forced and random.
So there were times that, and I'm a pretty fast reader, and there were times where I was struggling to read some of the stuff, and there were even times where I didn't tell you, but like I would be nap trapped and like I would read a chunk and I'd be like, I just don't feel like reading this.
Yeah, I could see it.
Like, I would want to just take a break and put it down.
Maybe why it
took
a little bit longer. There's also work and life stuff, but
at some point I just told myself, I was like, I'm just gonna freaking speed, like, even if I'm not capturing as much of the details, I need to just push through this book so I can finally say I did it. And like, I really hope that there's an ending that's worth it.
Yeah, you can tell by our talk or our summary, because we're not summarizing so much, because it really was
There's
pointless.
not much to summarize.
Like, none of them were weird or bad. Like, if they were all published as independent
after Celeria, we go to...
It doesn't even matter. I'm saying, like, they were all, even when he uses, there's cool little sci-fi parts, like funny parts. It's still Asimov writing. It's still cool. It's still good. There's witty and there's little jokes. There's stuff that we laughed about a bunch.
There's like stuff I
like
highlighted.
The banter
that was
back
a joke,
and forth between them is all pretty well written.
But the ending was so bad that I don't care.
Yeah, and it's funny. I'm saying an Asimov book sucked because of its ideas. So that's the worst. That's why you like Asimov. I was saying in Foundation 1, and I love Caves of Steel, like, I'm not even saying he's like some great Dostoevsky writer guy, but I would put Asimov up there for, like, you gotta read him, because like the ideas he gets across are just so good. He gets you to think in this mode. But over here I'm like, in what mode? Like, I don't understand how this applies to anything, because I can't be like, oh, this is just like how it could be a 20,000-year-old robot with quantum entangled trying to make us a unified species so that we fight another alien, but actually that alien might have been over here. Haha. Alright, I'm out.
Also, that's
I gotta get this book published.
The robot's not even looking that far. The robot a plot twist just has decided that this is the correct path.
Yeah. One.
Travis is the one that comes to that conclusion, not the robot.
3. There are 3 sentences. There's a plot twist that happens in 3 sentences. The idea that the Solarians or the alien threat's already with us is in 3 sentences. At the last 3 sentences of the book.
Yeah.
Of the very long book. 429 pages.
And even, like, Daniil, and he even, so much gets
explained
in this last chapter, where he even talks about, like, what was happening.
Of 100-something chapters, by the way. Of 104.
I was looking at 103 right now.
Chapter 104. I mean, yeah, maybe it's a little bit before that.
He literally, over a period of years,
chapter 100 probably.
So
they're not super long chapters.
We find out why Earth was being erased from stuff. Over a period of years, the humaniform robots that have been working with me have been one by one called home, because he's like unable to run things anymore because he's dying.
Yeah.
Their last tasks have been to remove all references to Earth in their planetary archives, because this was his
which I
passive
also tickled
way
my
of
pickle a little
keeping
bit.
Earth and the moon preserved and isolate. And I'm like, all of this is getting summarized in this last. This is chapter 102.
Yeah, yeah. However you want to word it, chapter 21 or part 102, but it's the last chapter. Like,
and then chapter. I'm like, so all these things were hiding Earth so that no one would discover you on the moon.
But again, as a writer critique, remember I was saying this even before. When you start introducing psychic powers, then or I can control minds, like Second Foundation. Well, then anything could be that. Like, oh, actually Hitler wasn't he was just mind controlled by the fucking moon robot, by the aliens, man. Like, oh, Jesus didn't even say that stuff. He was just mind controlled. Like, okay, you can do that for all real human history, and then no event actually happened. Nobody actually had motivations. So nobody can ever be morally judged good or right or smart or dumb. They're just if you can be controlled by something else. Like I was been joking through these talks, like they're the telepathic Illuminati. It's like, well, yeah, if everything could be done by them, then nothing matters. Then no statement you make matters. But now he adds another layer, like, oh, also there are robots that are literally indistinguishable from people. So any one of the characters in our book could have been that, for all we know.
Or any of the characters
it's Blade
next
Runner.
To them.
Like Blade Runner does this in a good way.
That.
That's the whole point of Blade Runner of Electric Sheep. Jesus Christ, do androids dream of electric sheep? It plays with that in a cool way. Anybody could be a secret robot thing.
I do love that.
And it plays it for plot reasons, and it has a limited scope, and it's not that these robots rule everything through quantum entanglement across the galaxy.
Which, by the way, Travis gets all pissed off, and he's like, so if you knew all this stuff, and you knew about, like, Earth, and you're the one that started Gaia and all this shit, why did you need my decision? And why make me do all this? Like, why make me literally hop around the galaxy looking for you?
Yeah, he's trying to address,
decide whether I should confirm
the obvious question the reader
has.
has.
Agree with you with Galaxia. Like, what is the point of this book?
Yeah, it's literally Travis' fourth wall break.
Because I wanted you to bring me a brain to merge with. This entire book.
He says that? I don't know.
He says, what was the use of carrying through the charade? What good has it been? Ever since my decision, I have scoured the galaxy searching for Earth and what I thought of as its secret, not knowing the secret was you, in order that I might confirm the decision. Well, I have confirmed it. I know now that Galaxia is absolutely essential, and it appears to be all for nothing. Why could you not have left the galaxy to itself and me to myself? Because, sir, I've been searching for a way out, and I've been carrying on in the hope that I might find one. I think I have. Instead of replacing my brain with yet another positronic one, which is impractical, I might merge it with a human brain instead. A human brain that is not affected by the 3 laws and will not only add capacity to my brain, but add a whole new level of abilities as well. That is why I have brought you here. I read that part already, but
yeah.
But yeah, like, literally,
he can control everything. I know he says they always claim, I don't control it, I just change the emotion. Cool. Give one of these guys the emotion to explore the stars and go to the moon. Like, people have all kinds of thoughts, and you lead them into one of them. Like, they like to use Bliss's word, you smooth the path towards one of these. It's just so strange. It's strange and it's not deep, but like I said, I hate to do this. But I think if you had a kid's curriculum, or like, it seems like such a funny, we're going so hard on Asimov, and I'm like, Foundation and Caves of Steel should be like required reading for intellectuals, for smarty pants. But it's after it's because it's funny I'm saying that because it's after from Foundation 2 on you get all this psychic play, which like I said can be seen as lazy writing in a sense, as interesting as it could be, and then if you weren't sure that might be an issue, like this is clearly strange, lazy, shoving in random things at the end.
The person I feel the most bad for in this entire book is Bliss.
Yeah.
She's the only character that not only gets used, goes through the weirdest character arc I have ever witnessed for a character.
She also kills like so many people. You think
she literally goes from being...
She does go through a character arc, but like what happened? What is the point of her killing all these people? There was no change on anything. She
doesn't change, but she does kill. I do think that to some extent there is somewhat change. Like we see things where she's like, she doesn't question Trevize. She becomes way more okay cool with like weapons. Yeah. Even towards the end where she has to like kill the viruses, Trevize is like, I mean, don't kill, because he has this inactive virus in his body, and he's like, Bliss, can you kill it? And she's like, I don't know, I might kill something in you because I don't know you very well. And Pellerat's like, well, if you look for, because the virus is supposed to die in hosts that it's not used to. Over time. So he's like, if you look for things that are dying more quickly than other things, that's probably it.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, that's a good idea. All right, I'll try to do that. It'll still take time. And he's like, well, are you going to feel like, are you going to lose energy or be less you or whatever?
Yeah.
If you do that? And she was like, I mean, if I have to. So I felt like she did not feel so bad killing the viruses.
Yeah. But you would think it's, like I said, you expect...
Which Trevize picks on her for that.
Why I bring up the only way out is esoteric like, Asimov, like some sort of, you're not supposed to like the ending. This was...
And we see her, like...
you're supposed to hope.
She literally falls so in love with Fallum that when she has to give her up, she's like... it goes, Bliss said, her cheeks flushed and her eyes moist. I suppose that the robot maneuvered our trip to Earth in such a way to make us pass through Solaria in order to pick up the child for his use. Perhaps when we get back to Gaia, room will be found in the global organism for a child for me. I will place Fallum in the syllables of its name. So, I don't know. In my mind, Bliss is actually, in a funny way, becoming more individual. Like, why would she, like,
for sure,
if she was still just a part of Gaia, she would just not care whether she has a child or not. When it is her time, it will be awarded to her. Possibly not, whatever Gaia wants. Instead, she's like, I kind of hope that I can have a baby. And they pick on her throughout the book, and they're like, are you sure this isn't your motherly instinct kicking in that you like Fallum? And she was like, no, I'm Gaia. I love all things, but at the same time, no, it was that she's realizing she wants to have a baby.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like, she's gone through like the weirdest character growth
and same thing
arc.
with him maintaining the whole way through his like, I just have a gut feeling whatever I find on Earth will help me decide.
Oh, then this too, Trevize, because she goes, we are not quite through. We don't know yet whether Trevize is still of the mind that the proper future for humanity is Galaxia as opposed to a vast conglomeration of isolates.
Yeah.
Because she was not with the group when Trevize admits that he's for Galaxia. So Daniil says he has already made that clear a while ago, madam. He has decided in favor of Galaxia. And Trevize says calmly, which do you want it to be, Bliss? If I decide against Galaxia, you may get Fallum back.
Yeah.
So, like, he can tell that that almost would be enough reason.
To bring it, I don't want to lose this point. One of the notes, I guess you could say this is a good point. Not a good point. I was making fun of the philosophical back and forths, but like I said, if this is intended at like middle school level, I guess this is deep. That with the Moss thing, she makes her best point in that you see that it's all working. She's basically saying we're all interconnected already. And I think about how we're really clear night the other day, like, and I had the thought, so it's kind of cool that this happens later in the book. So I was listening to the book and looking up, and you see the space station, and I'm like, there are uncontacted tribes that see our space station. we forever change whatever myths, whatever thing they have against their will. We decided to put a thing in space. Yeah, what the hell is that thing? You know what I mean? Like, we imposed that on them. Climate change, whatever happens, whatever is man-made, whatever level, whatever you think about that, who cares? Like, plastics in their water, all this shit is happening to them. They don't get a choice in this, and they might get nuked out of existence because of us. Like, we are interconnected, and in us too. Like, we have no involvement in our politics, but who knows? It might drag us into a war, it might do this and that. So her point with the Moss thing was, that's how you guys look to Gaia. Like, you guys
just scrambling.
You guys
to
all
survive.
Yeah, some of you guys kill each other. Like, some of the planets, some of the dogs that are wild, and they just go to primitive dog mode and attack and click up in packs, and stranger danger, and even Moana Island there. Like, oh, we can be friends, but this is we are nice to each other and it works, but we're still fucking crazy scared of off-worlders, and we kill them. So, like, no matter what, you're always interacting with people. So why not just have Gaia? But I'm like, because you've already... So why can't we all just come to that decision? If you were able to make me see that point, why do we need this weird memory storage in rocks, but it's not good enough to remember actual history because some robot overlord Daniil decided we can't know this shit? Yeah. Like, this book is pro-dictator.
Well, even
this
Gaia,
book is pro-dictator.
By the way, even Gaia, the fact that Daniil is...
crazy.
In his own words, an associate but independent of Gaia, and Gaia cannot know.
Yeah.
So Gaia needs to know everything about everything that's happening within Gaia, but Gaia cannot know the actions of Daniil. Daniil's actions must always be independent of Gaia's knowledge.
This is pro-secret society. This is what I said way back when...
And that's what we're going to vouch for? That makes absolutely no sense.
And that's what I mean by, where I'll give him credit.
Someone just needs to grab the controls.
Yeah, this is ancient myth.
And that's it. You're going to be whatever they pick.
I hope we'll find some Asimov manuscripts or something that goes, please, this is to make smart people annoyed. To make them feel like... You're going to be surrounded by friends in your little book club, and they're going to say, wasn't that a great ending? And you go, you said it was good to have a secret society dictatorship.
Or if in the prelude and the forward, we find out that Selden knew that Daniil was like...
All right, yeah. So might as well mild theories for that. But I'm like, no, it's going to get into how Daniil was actually like Selden's professor and like taught him like, hey man, you should look into this. Here's a cool theorem. I wonder if it can be improved, huh? What do you think? Like, basically does the work. Oh my god, I think I figured it out. Like, yeah, you sure did, bud. And then fucks off back to the moon. Or this wasn't all Daniil himself personally, right? He says it's other robots.
It was him and one other guy.
Well, no, he says he got one of the mental powers from the other one.
Yeah. But that other robot was the one... They had, like, teamed up originally, and the other one died and passed him the powers, and...
Yeah, the first powers to do the Gaia kind of mind crap. Which is different from the Solarian heat manipulating... It seems like telepathy, but it's really just energy transfer.
Yeah, what he does is more Gaia.
Yeah. Yeah, what Daniil does is more Gaia.
Although, what I don't understand is how he got the little girl, Phalum, to think he's Gemby.
Because he's a robot. So, I know.
But he doesn't look like Gemby. Even Bliss says he doesn't look like Gemby.
Yeah.
She just changes her emotions to make him feel like he's Gemby.
Yeah, I always felt like the kid did have a little bit of psychic powers. Like, that was implied with it, but that's never said anywhere, right? I don't know why I think that.
No, they just control things.
Yeah. I don't know why I had that thought, and it doesn't. It seems like it's actually the opposite. They're trying to prove it's just energy manipulation versus mental manipulation.
Yeah. They just want to merge those two powers into one being.
Again, I hope we find the note where he's saying, "Don't you see? Like, this is a bad thing. Like, only the smart people read between the lines and see that the ending is bad. I was trying to show you that it is bad and make you frustrated. I want to make you frustrated with all the other people that think this is a good ending." Like I'm saying, where some thinkers think maybe that was the reason for having this exoteric, outwardly, cultures from biblical stuff or Greek myths where all the people go, yeah, praise the oppressive sky god that, destroys Babel, that deprives us of stuff in the garden, or Zeus that's frivolous and amoral, and then it wants to make smart people jaded, or like see that they have this weird impulse to like secret societies and like dictators. I mean, Zeus and God, like Yahweh, they're supposedly benevolent dictators. But if that feels weird to you, that they come in and manipulate shit against your will and in a very confusing way, in very flawed ways too, they don't seem perfect. So same with Daniil. Daniil's literally like a godlike figure. He's been around for 20,000 years. He's manipulated human history way longer than any of the gods you think of now have been manipulating human history, like in recorded myths.
In a funny way, I just feel like Daniil just wants to finally be that god that he has become.
The humans, yeah.
He's still limited by the laws of robotics.
That's why I literally making the Disney comparison. Like, this is
merging
spin-off.
With the brain. He's just finally gonna.
Yeah, I know Asimov wrote this, but I'm like, that's not my Daniil. Like, my Daniil from the old books is cool. He does not have this very strange god complex thing. And like another esoteric reading between the lines point, maybe Asimov is warning against. It seems to be so pro AI, pro synthesis with all organic life. Like the moss is, important. I know she technically says that's not true, of course. Like, humans are more important than a blade of grass. She makes a whole point of. But I'm saying, but she doesn't. On one level, she does think the blade of grass is like, oh my god, you gotta cry over it and stuff.
Yeah, I could never adjust human minds entirely as I wish, for there was always a chance that I might do harm to the various humans who were adjusted. I was bound, you see, and I am bound to this day by the laws of robotics.
Yeah.
They basically...
Just tilt it up a little bit. See how mine's like faced up towards
Sorry.
me? You're good.
I thought you were trying to tell me the baby woke up.
Oh, no, don't worry. We can still rant.
My heart just jumped into my throat.
And
I'm assuming your robot series talks about Elijah Bailey.
Yeah, so that's, you're gonna like him too. And that's why I say it's so fan-fiction-y.
I did my best to salvage what I could of Earth after it began to turn radioactive. Mm-hmm. My fellow robots were distributed over the galaxy in an effort to influence a person here, a person there. At one time, I maneuvered a beginning to the recycling of Earth's soils. At another, much later time, I maneuvered a beginning to the terraforming of a world circling the nearby star now called Alpha. In neither case was I truly successful. I could never adjust human minds entirely as I wished. That's where he talks about he was bound
by the laws. Yeah.
Yeah. Then he explains the laws, because Asimov isn't sure at this point who knows them.
But and I don't know, I assume Asimov does know a lot of this. This is almost, I don't want to call it out specifically, but like the Kabbalah stuff, some of the real world secret society stuff, some of the conspiracies around that they can't lie. They do have to do some of the shit out in the open. Like, there is a weird, almost like vampire things, like you have to let them in. Like, there's an idea in some of the esoteric stuff that almost like you can't lie about it. So it's kind of a cool parallel with the robots, that he can't just take full control of humans. But for some reason, that's why I think it's lame, like these secret societies or the CIA defense sometimes. Like, okay, but then you do everything else to manipulate and control people. I just wish people be honest. It's not pro-freedom. I don't get how Asimov wrote a pro-secret society. It's literally just the end result. It's taking intelligentsia to its logical conclusion. If smarter people should be in control, there's one guy who's the smartest. So, and in this case, it's a 20,000-year-old robot. Like, so unless his point is, you know what I mean, where I will give, that's the only way out. He's trying to say, see, it's bad, because maybe the whole foundation, maybe the whole Selden plan idea was bad. That you shouldn't have a secret society trying to control the cosmos, because that will only lead to AI merging us.
But this is literally, like, the way he wrote it, it was just a secret society managing the secret society that's managing
That's why we joked before. It's secret societies all the time. It's fifth foundation. Remember, we were joking like, "Oh my God, it's going to be about third foundation in this book."
Because Travis goes, "You needed me to make the decision for you. Is that it, Daniil?" "Yes, sir. The laws of robotics would not allow me nor Gaia to make the decision and chance harm to humanity. And meanwhile, 5 centuries ago, when it seemed that you would never work out methods for getting around all the difficulties that stood in the way of establishing Gaia, I turned to the second best and helped bring about the development of the science of psychohistory."
Yeah. It reminds me of why I like a lot of the Buddhist teachings. Just don't pay attention to these Mara demons. We always joke, like some of these different beliefs, like when you die, like Satan's going to put all this shit and be like, I didn't decide on any of the parameters of my life and all these things. Like, F you. I'm not. Because it's like the robot. The only way that makes sense is to go, well, you chose it. Like, they just want a person to say that they chose it, but not take accountability for all of the, like they said, smoothing the paths. That's what is great. It's going to turn into a sermon. I pick on Christianity a lot, but that's one of the best things. You just wash away it all. Just, you get to restart. It was looking at a people that were so just made obsessed by all their weird little sins and shortcomings, because all the weird little things that they did with their own will, and they should now feel bad about or feel like they were guilty for, and somebody just comes in and wipes all that away. Fresh start. Because what a lot of evil forces do is they try and trap you in some shit you did. Gangs do that shit too. They make you do something, and then they go, now you can't ever snitch on us because we'll tell you. So the robot, but the robot, Daniil here, wants, we just want to make sure a human said you can do it, because I am stuck by this code where I can't get around that I need a human to consent. So as long as you consent to this sin, you did it. It's literally like Satan being like, you said you wanted to do it. Even though I put all this pressure on you, I forced you, I literally put you in this situation, and I said you don't have to. But now that you did it, but it is like a cheating of the thing. Like, how about you just don't intervene? Just don't intervene. The rule did not say you have to proactively protect humanity. That's that whole zeroth law thing that they...
I have that too.
Yeah. But that's already with the AI. You could argue getting smart enough to make up its own parameters or think deductively, but it's like, okay, but then don't...
Just before Giscard's end, he conceived of a robotic law that superseded even the first. We called it the zeroth law because we're so cool. Mm-hmm. Out of an inability to think of any other name that made sense, the zeroth law is... a robot may not injure humanity or through inaction allow humanity to come to harm. So they decided.
Yeah, again, it's the parallel of man just making up his own laws instead of God's laws. Again, like it's the robot just, hey, I think this makes sense. It's like, okay, but then that is your law. But, so don't act like you're so bound to my man-made laws.
When you added a law.
Yeah, don't act like you're going to drag me into this.
Why did you write in that they could add in a zeroth law?
Yeah.
This is why he thinks it's okay for him to merge brains with an organic.
Yeah.
And this is why he thinks that by doing that, he'll be able to get around the 3 laws as if they...
But this is a critique of a lot of orthodox stuff. I mean, here comes our community strike, but I see this a lot with Orthodox Judaism. Some of the big peaks where you see like they can't turn on the lights and some of the shit, like some of the ones that take it super serious. Huh?
It was a good run.
I know, right? No, we're Jewish. I am Jewish. You're Jewish. You actually are. Please, believe me. But where you see that the lights, they can't touch the light switch, so they got like whole systems. I've seen stuff online. I mean, I'm roasting everybody here. So you see where it's like kind of gross to be like, what are you, tricking God? Like by doing all these weird little things. Like, I know it says I can't use the electricity, but if I do this or that, I get the benefits of it. They find these little loopholes to get around it. And it's like, all right, that's what Daniil's doing. Like, he wants to be able to point to a human and say he allowed it, but also I'm doing whatever I want at the end of the day. I'm claiming it's for the good of humanity, but I'm putting no faith in humanity. Why intervene? Why not just let it go unless you are pro, like I said from the beginning, it's him playing with Plato's idea of the Republic, that you would have these 2 layers, a public policy that makes people think that they're in control of stuff, and then a actual ruling class that decides stuff. It's the whole point of the ship. He makes the whole point, like, you don't want a democracy on a ship. You want the ship captain, like, to be in charge. You don't want random people just deciding. Specialized skills required specialized people, like, specialized positions require specialized skills. So that's anti-democracy, though. And everything in Asimov's public life that I've seen, and all his little, I watch like little compilations and stuff of him in interviews and all that. Like, I think people have been blown away to be like, Asimov is pro-fascist. He's pro-secret society. They say Plato is pro-fucking fascist. Like, he's saying you need the Republic is pro-secret society rulers. Is that crazy? You'd think I'm making this shit up?
I don't think it's crazy. I think they don't think we're capable of it. I think if
But you could argue that's the point of Foundation. As much as I like Foundation, why didn't I critique Foundation for that more? Foundation thinks that they're smarter than all the barbarian states around them. And we go, yeah, I mean, they are.
I mean, a funny way, I think because we were just going to be reading, we never got to the critiquing of Foundation, because we were going to wait. Like, in my mind, we were probably going to end up there. We just wanted to go on this trip of...
I guess I wanted Asimov to critique it.
Yeah, or like, I wanted to see how it was all going to play out. Yeah. I didn't think that, A, we weren't going to make it to Empire 2. Yeah. For some reason, I thought in my mind we would. And B, I didn't realize that we were going to get so derailed where it's not even Foundation 1 or Foundation 2. Like, we spent so much time caring about Foundation 1 and Foundation 2.
It's what if the galaxy's alive, man? Yeah. He fucking hit the blunt.
So, I just, like, honestly...
Asimov hit the fucking bong, started talking about titties for, like, 3 planets of different titties.
My recommendation is just read the trilogy and live with that. Yeah. Be happy with that.
I would argue...
Because book 4 and 5 have thrown such a wrench into it that I feel like we would have loved... We could have really gotten into Foundation 1 and where it worked or where it didn't. Even if we didn't make it to Second Empire, even if we were just on the trajectory of it, we could have talked about it. We could have talked about, like... Because so many things were happening within Foundation 1 and Foundation 2 that would have been interesting to explore as just standalone societies. Like, we have Second Foundation having different people bickering at the table, and we're having, like...
Second Foundation was so much more interesting to follow than this very vague...
It was such a bud.
Asimov taught biology, I think. Like, it's so strange how
it was such an interesting idea, and then it just, like... He stepped all over... Like, he just totally...
Gaia seems like just vague stoner talk.
Yeah, and then Foundation 1 also had, like, even with Trevize and the mayor, we have this, like, different political stuff happening. We have different groups. Like, at least with Foundation 1, we have all these different groups coming up where there was always this, like, anarchist group, or there was this group trying to take over, or there was this young, like...
I think the scale and realism of it made it interesting.
Yeah, and I think we really could have kept going with that. Like, that would have been interesting enough. Yeah. This whole, like, Daniil and Gaia and, like, becoming one giant organism. Like, I don't know what LSD shit he dropped before writing this shit.
Like I said, we're all beings, man. We're one large...
But I just feel like it totally derailed. Like, if we would have just stuck with the Selden plan, and he would have just kept exploring that in a very... Even if it ended in a 1984 way, where you're like, I don't want that to be the ending.
Yeah, where then he gets a better argument for what I'm trying to give him credit for.
It would have still...
You would realize, Foundation was bad. Yeah.
Yeah, everything would have still been in line with what Foundation 1 through 3 set up.
Yeah, while still getting that...
It just feels like so much shit changed with 4 and 5, and like 1, 2, and 3 don't matter. Like, it turns out that Neil was
30 years
doing
later.
It, like...
There's a 30-year break between Foundation Trilogy and... the next 2.
Like, there was just secret robots everywhere. Oh, sorry. I'm probably sitting sideways trying to talk to you.
I mean, it looks good.
But there was probably secret robots everywhere. Yeah. Daniil was probably, like, even books 1 through 3, we don't know who was a robot, who was secretly manipulating, whose mind was being messed with. even on the second Foundation.
ChatGPT write a sequel to this, and actually it's all alien. I mean, it's all angels. It's all invisible, interdimensional aliens that were controlling even Daniil the whole time.
So,
like, you can just keep slapping that on, or it gets kind of pointless. And like we said, that was a critique of second.
My favorite thing too, like, and even this like mind melding merging thing, like, so Daniil's gonna merge minds with Fallon. What are they at that point?
What does that actually mean for a sci-fi writer that likes to explain stuff well?
Is he destroying Fallon and he's just gonna be using the biological aspects?
Why is it the good ending that we're offering up this kid as a sacrifice to the AI god? Like, literally, like, hey, your willpower, fuck you. You don't get to be yourself, little kid. He's literally against his... How does anybody consent to any of this? Like, I really hope... I'm going to read up some stuff on this, that is what it is. That he's trying to say, you guys love Foundation. That was not good. But I don't know. I do think that's me adding a lot of this stuff and giving too much credit where it's due. I think sadly, Asimov thought some of these points were deep that Gaia made.
I think, if I'm honest,
yeah,
I have a feeling that if we look into it, he probably had already his robot series written.
Well, for sure, yeah, it was done.
But because 30-year gap, right? So,
yeah.
Like, how many things did he have written, and he was forced?
The robot series is done because so much of this was the fan fiction. That's what I mean about the planets were.
Well, I wasn't sure if
he's just checking off, like,
but.
And that's why the Star Wars being shitty with Disney parallels so great. Like, let's just touch on everything at the end on the last movie.
That's the thing. I really feel like basically they came to him and they were like, look, you have to do more books, and we're going to pay you a lot of money to do it.
Gorilla.
And he was like,
he's like, good, I need fucking weed money now.
I'm pretty sure that I'm Midas right now, and anything I touch is going to be gold. So, yeah, I'll take your money.
Yeah.
And
I think the opposite. They said it like almost a cockiness, but in that forward, he's all like blown away that people love the Foundation series so much because it went through that weird magazine.
Yeah, no, like, I get the humbleness on. I can't believe that you loved the Foundation.
Maybe in a bad way, where he's like, I can't just keep giving you that. Like, let me try and make something new and interesting. It just didn't work. I don't know. I don't know for sure it was cockiness. Ironically, it might have been from insecurity. Like, oh no, I have to come up with something cool for such a large book.
I think he didn't intend to continue Foundation. I think either he was forced to, or he was looking at all his, like, pantheon of work and was like, where could I pick something up?
Yep.
If I have writer's block, what would be the easiest place for me to pick up and add something?
Yeah, and so Gaia
and I'll throw in some fan service.
But Daniil is classic. Everybody's gonna love. That's why I said, like, oh, I'm gonna hit you with the Daniil at the end, and you're gonna be like, that was great.
Yeah, that was great.
I love Daniil, so I love the ending. Like,
he's the best.
Yeah. And it's like, no, now you've left like a weird, bad fanfic, a bad version of Daniil that now I gotta think of when I think of Daniil. Like, I want to have it not tainted. Like you said, he's 30 years later. He's a different person, like, in the real world. A lot of his views and a lot of his interests.
Like, if I were retired, or if I was like not, and you come to me and I happen to have a collection of work.
He had to be in his 60s, I think.
Why would, like, yes, it is very hard to come up with something fresh and so new out of literally thin air. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I'm looking up when it was actually written. It was written in 86. You can hear that.
I didn't realize it.
And he died in 92. So, 6 years before his death. How old does that make him? He was born in 1920, so he was 66 when he wrote this.
I think he just went on a side quest.
Yeah, here you go, professor of biochemistry. Yeah, so I'm like, and we came up with Gaia. I feel bad. Like I've given enough praise over these other talks where I'm just like, I don't know, that ain't it. Well, that's cool.
I mean, look, I get exploring the idea of Gaia, but I feel like he didn't. That or he really just likes the idea of us actually being Gaia.
But I keep saying it sounds like a stoner type of point where I get that the cells in the body. This is a little argument that she makes, that Bliss makes. Like, aren't you just a collection of smaller units of individuals, the individual cells that make up a person, and now you have this crazy greater consciousness? And I, again, gave him credit. I was like, there are cool theories on like this overman, this spirit or soul of humanity itself, and the noosphere. It was like a concept that there is like this plane of consciousness that's emergent from all of our consciousnesses, that it's some third new thing. Like, I get it, but one, none of your characters ever go as deep as some of the writings and stuff and theories I've heard on this, so it seems like a simple version. There's a difference between saying like, yeah man, everything's connected, and like actually explaining quantum entanglement. Like, before quantum entanglement existed, you don't get to, some stoner guy that said that doesn't get to go, yeah, see, they proved what I just randomly said in my van. They proved that later with quantum entanglement. Like, no, it doesn't work that way. And so he never gets into any of the real depth with Gaia.
I mean, nothing about Gaia gets...
And of course no depth on why, Daniil can control the whole fate of everything. You had something?
The only thing I was going to maybe look for was, I'm pretty sure Pellerat and Trevize basically outline why, like, they have to listen to whatever they decide because they're people, but I don't remember where.
What? Decided what?
Because there's like a whole section where they're like, oh, you have to listen to us because we're people. And
yeah.
Like, if we decide something.
Yeah, he just has to go with it. I love how that can't be true. He's no bound by what they say, because if he's introduced this whole, like, I have to protect humanity as a whole, it's like, doesn't every human throughout all of history say that?
You guys decide that you don't want to do this?
But couldn't Hitler say that? Couldn't everybody say that? Couldn't Stalin say that? Like, it's pretty rare, this Disney villain, to think that the person doesn't think that they're caring for a larger group while they're destroying. They could be doing a evil to a smaller group, but that doesn't even make sense to call it evil when it helps the larger group. Even in the robot's worldview, since he introduced I'm helping humanity as a whole. That makes no more sense to call it evil than it would be to cut my toe off if it catches gangrene or something, like if it's just a disease. Like, it's not evil. It's literally a good thing to cut off a bad part of your body to save your whole thing, especially in that analogy, to use the Gaian analogy, like, my oversoul, my consciousness is more valuable than the whatever proto-consciousness of the cells in my body. So if we can allow, genocides to happen because, well, actually he's looking out for this larger goal. I mean, Daniil, it's funny, did they was he smart enough to prevent all these other wars? The violence is the last refuge of the incompetent?
He claims
famous quote from
that
book
Gaia
1
wasn't strong enough at that point.
Yeah.
That was basically like what that paragraph I read to you was.
Mm-hmm.
Where...
And I get they would say a fallacy. I'm going to critique and say, so you're not a robot god, so stop acting like it. And be like, okay, but just because I'm not the platonic idea of a perfect ship captain, I might be the best ship captain. And so therefore we're still back to I should be in charge of the ship.
Oh, here, I found where Pellerat says...
like, if it's armless people and children, robots, with no experience is a better ship captain.
Robots are the creation of human beings, and Gaia is the creation of robots. And both robots and Gaia, insofar as they must be bound by the 3 laws, have no choice but to yield to human will. Despite the 20,000 years Daniil has labored in the long development of Gaia, a single word from Golan Trevize, a human being, would put an end to both those labors and that development. It follows then that humanity is the only significant species of intelligence in the galaxy, and psychohistory remains valid. Because this is where Travis is trying to figure out where the fallacy was.
But that's Pellerat saying that.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Yeah, that is not Daniil saying that. Because I'm saying Daniil wouldn't say that. Daniil would have to kill a human if that human had a button that could destroy all of humanity. So,
literally, the only thing that makes, like, Travis is trying to make all this make sense by saying, I agree, yet we speak so much and so often in the galaxy that it is all but impossible for us to see that this is not enough. The galaxy is not the universe. There are other galaxies.
yeah.
So this is where he starts basically hinting that, like, there could be other intelligences.
Yeah.
Our own galaxy has developed only one species of intelligence, great enough to develop a technological society, but what do we know of the other galaxies?
Yeah, which again, the Selden plan is based on human predictions, so if there's aliens in the mix, or even just robots.
It ruins the psychohistory of it. That ends up being his out of all of this.
Yeah,
if there were something new, like in quotation marks, if there were other species of intelligence widely different in nature, then their behavior would not be described accurately by the mathematics of psychohistory, and Selden's plan would have no meaning.
Yeah. Which, like, you could then negate the entire Foundation series and say, whoops, I didn't think about aliens. Which also means, like, we think about aliens. Like, there's even ancient people that, like, I'm not even talking about angels and gods and demons. I'm saying they literally said, like, could there be other creatures, like humans? This is like old Catholic fucking philosophers debated this. The whole thing about it, you know, would you have to preach to aliens is like a thing they keep bringing up nowadays. It's like, they thought about this before.
I feel like it's so silly because even in the first Foundation and the first through third books, they talk about how, like, there could be weird things that could happen, like the mule technically, which
unforeseen.
He gets sort of described and, like,
he gets touched on again later in the book. He gets touched on,
and they're like,
later in this book,
he was just an anomaly, like, out of Gaia. I'm like, what?
To hit Asimov with this one, Mr. Biology guy, I hope he comes to me in my dream.
How?
to cite the book, It Came to Me in a Dream. I hope the ghost of Asimov fights me in my dream. Because, hey, Mr. Sci-fi writer and biology background, you know one of the funny, boring points, everybody makes fun of how Star Trek, they all look like humans. It's like, but they're probably going to be, one, if they're conscious, they're going to have some sort of sense of self and same game theory, like, the Three Body Book does a good job in this. Like, they're going to actually all kind of behave the same way.
Yeah.
Because evolution's going to dictate that you have finite resources in your body and in your environment. And so you're going to evolve the same way. You're going to manipulate things the same way. You're going to need, eye sensors are going to be great. Some version of an eye, some version of a hand, some version of walking, some of moving around your environment. Stomachs to convert things. So everything from your biology to your mind is not going to be as insanely alien as you would think. And so again, to Mass Effect, like, the Hanar are weird. They're the most strange non-humanoid. They're jellyfish. But don't they act and talk like everybody else? They're able to figure us out. They still manipulate their environment and have a mind that has evolution, and game theory type programming.
This whole alien thing is just another way that I'm like, I really feel so, like, the first through third books already had the clause that anything outside an anomaly, like a mutation, like the mule or an alien, would obviously not, like, the Selden plan wouldn't apply.
Yeah.
Nothing would apply. You're then dealing with
exactly
a totally different, but the whole point of the Selden plan was that it was just trying to get us through the Dark Ages in 1,000 years instead of 30,000 years.
That's true.
Regardless of alien,
brilliant point.
Alien interference or not. Like,
come on, man.
That was the whole point.
You're making a great point, and our dog is having very human-sounding sneezes. I hope we don't get murdered. Oh, well, now it's sounding gross.
Ben, come.
I just heard it sound like a human sneezing.
I just don't want him to wake the baby up.
Spirit of Asimov. Oh my god. Your point was great. You're right. It's like Asimov forgot. Whoa, we never said this was the final theory for all of humanity throughout the entire future.
No, the Second Empire isn't even supposed to be, like, Selden Plan was just supposed to get us to the Second Empire.
We're only like a couple hundred years away from this, by the way.
Yeah, we made it 500 years.
Gaia only takes a couple hundred years to bring about. Well, so does the freaking Selden Plan. Second Empire comes about. The First Empire was good enough to make Selden. Maybe the Second Empire would have been smart enough to make the alien including theory, which I didn't want to cut you off, but I laughed because it's like, the aliens, you have every reason to believe the alien will be less strange than the mule was to everyone else.
Yeah.
Because the mule's psychic powers, which defy so many other physics, we're going to say that the aliens are going to emerge out of the same physics and evolutionary impulse as everybody else. But mind control of such a scale, like, that is such a weird ability that I don't think it's crazy to say the mule is more different than an alien.
They don't necessarily have the mule's level of power.
Yeah. They all admit, hell no. I mean, he literally controlled people against their will. He wasn't manipulating emotions. He had mind-controlled slaves.
It was emotion, though. Like...
But this whole, I forget his name, the guy that was a spy that he manipulated?
I know, but in this book, they totally ruin a lot of it. So, like...
The guy secretly wanted to serve the mule, and he just smoothed that path?
No, instead of smoothing the path, he literally manipulates his emotion where instead of hating the mule,
he loves serving him.
It was total loyalty for the mule.
Yeah, because he does say, it seems so odd that he used to hate him.
And then Asimov relate to dances that emotion. Between, like, he could tell... Like, I don't know why he didn't just
It's fair, but that's just a more complicated way of saying I smoothed the path.
Yeah, I mean...
It's not. Look, it's worse than smoothing the path. I consider what you just said to be more manipulation, because there's no way he had an ounce of affection for the mule.
No, he didn't smooth the path, but he didn't insert...
He had to insert love for the mule.
He did, but it wasn't... It's all emotional based.
Yeah, I get that.
He could not tell him, like, all right, now you're going to put the gun down.
Yeah.
Like, he could only make him feel like, you love me so much that you will possibly want.
Yeah.
Like, it's highly likely you will put the gun down. You know?
It's having a great time. You don't think about anything else. Your mind is in the moment. You're not... The last thought would be to leave, when you're having a great time.
And, like, the mule could do this where...
But that's going against their will in a way that that Bliss claims she never did, that Daniil claims he never did.
What I don't understand is if the mule was from Gaia... Like, these are all things that he could have explored more in these books, and instead...
Hey, there's a robot on the moon.
Yeah, there's a robot on the moon.
Yeah, instead of, like, we do never get a case for why the mule was so...
Or how he broke away from Gaia.
That's what I mean, but why was he so different? Like, you guys all have mental manipulation. You're going to claim, it wasn't a different type of psychic. It's the same thing, just used in a weird way.
Wouldn't his powers stem from Gaia?
And that's what I mean by I'm hoping. Esoteric Asimov, I'm going to call it. He's saying they're full of shit, don't believe them. Like in Mass Effect, like at the end, the Reapers, I've seen people say, like, but they show you the ending that you were actually supposed to like. The Reapers were just helping us bring about synthesis, where we're all one big galactic-sized organism. It's a good thing. And I go, no, you were supposed to realize that's why you get the whole indoctrination theory for the ending of Mass Effect, that actually you were being manipulated so that the ending you chose looks good, but only because your brain was already destroyed. So Asimov is doing that to us, the reader, like, as we read it, because you know that the mule broke away from Gaia. So if we have a galaxy-sized Gaia, wouldn't we just have a lot more mules? I know you didn't hear that.
Shout out to every Reddit.
Because you're reading something.
I'm sorry. But shout out to every Reddit thread that I have just discovered.
Boy, she just found everybody shitting on this. That's cool. We didn't actually look up any reviews, so I'm very proud. These are literally our real thoughts. We have looked up nothing, but she just looked up
that everybody's... A horrible end for an amazingly written sci-fi saga?
Yeah. That's funny.
Oh, man. Over the past year, this guy took to read the books.
Oh no.
That's a long time.
Yeah, we did a couple weeks at least, so that's good. We ripped the Band-Aid off at the end on this one. My point was, don't get distracted yet. You can read some of these if you want in a sec, but that if I'm saying Asimov was laying the cookie crumbs. There's really cool theories. Go watch them on the indoctrination theory on Mass Effect. The idea that, like I'm saying, that an ancient people did this too is a theory. They purposely left the crumbs in there so you realize that the narrative that's being said, that's explicitly stated, is not true. Is a bad ending. And at the end of Mass Effect, the Reapers, it looks good. Kumbaya. Everybody synthesized. We are one. Yay. But you can find a bunch of ways where they lied and manipulated, and holy fuck, now we're trapped. If Gaia becomes galaxy-sized instead of one planet, it's only one planet right now.
Yeah.
It could include literally hundreds of millions of planets.
Yeah.
Won't you have hundreds of millions of the mules? Even if it's only 1-to-1, let alone if there's an emergent worse factor.
It could happen.
Like, even if it is a smaller percentage and there's only 1 million mules or 1,000 mules, everybody lost their shit over how powerful this guy was. So I'm saying Asimov is laying the crumb, like, hey, I didn't tell you the mules ending because these dummies fell for the indoctrination.
Yeah.
The Galaxia / really Daniil off his rocker, the AI
so
became a bad guy.
This is just one of the bad endings in the Mass Effect game?
Yeah, and...
Well, can we go back to the save where
I know,
we get to pick the good ending?
Where you destroy Daniil, where you shoot Daniil in the face and say, you dubbed yourself the AI god of humanity.
You're saying Asimov forgot to save right before you went for the boss battle?
Well, no, that's my point for all these myths, to give them credit. And like I said, that's why I think the Bible is super important, because if you do believe, it's trying to show you that people around you will go for the indoctrination ending, and you should be worried about this, that I think Asimov here is showing you the bad ending, like myths of old. That you want to play out the bad ending in fiction so that in the real world you choose the right ending. So that you're so annoyed by this, so that when you're presented with the AI god, you shoot him in the face.
I mean, I get it.
It makes it frustrating as a reader, but it makes it perhaps more applicable to real life and more deeply meaningful instead of just a good.
I guess.
Or I'm giving him way too much credit. And he wasn't even thinking that at all. And he hit the bong and thought Guy is super deep and cool, and isn't Daniil awesome? Don't you love to see him again?
There's just something in my gut that's leaning towards your second.
Trevize. Leaning towards what? Oh, the second point?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
But
she is moving.
Oh, is she?
Yeah. It's late. Anyways.
Is she waking up? Let me see.
She's moving. We got the baby monitor here. Our little 9-month-old.
Oh. Okay.
If you want to try, if you got energy, we could look through some of these Reddit things. That could be a hilarious section.
It could be fun. Let me see if I can put her down.
We'll see. We'll pause it. If not, pick it up next time. Alright, we're back from the baby break. And we are, I don't know, a little petty, a little excited. We looked up reviews for Foundation and Earth. It has 4.07 on Goodreads. Now, I've been making Star Wars comparisons with the new Disney stuff, and that's kind of true for everything that comes out in a fandom. So if you made it this far into the Asimov series, you are a serious Asimov fan. Funny enough. So same thing happens in Star Wars. If you're the kind of person reading this weird, obscure, novel that came out, and the new stuff, you're probably super into it. But look, right here you get 4-1, 4-1, 4-2, 3-5, 5-4-2. So it's pretty divided. What are you seeing? You're on a whole Reddit thing?
One Reddit user goes, putting the 7 Foundation novels in publication order, the prequels are a much better end.
Yeah, that's what I figured. I figured which I'm so turned off by. That's why earlier when I asked you what do you want to read next, I assume that's why you said, I don't want to talk about it yet. You said, let's just save it for the pod.
Yeah, so this is the thing.
Because you didn't want to cry in front of me over breakfast.
The reader in me needs a break.
Yeah, no, for sure. I am 100% with you, even though I love that we did this.
The completionist in me,
I know you feel like, when are we really going to come back?
Come back.
Yeah. We'll sleep on it, but what makes it even worse is that there is no actual plot going on at the same time, and this book ends the series. In all caps, this person wrote. Yeah, and Asimov completely invalidates the hero of the series, which is psychohistory and the plan, by mind controlling everyone involved. I was waiting, hoping throughout this book that at some point they would undo the damage and get back on track, but they didn't. They just made it worse. I think she doesn't say it there, but with the aliens on top of, with a robot controlling everything, and then aliens, maybe he's looking at me right now, a little tongue-in-cheek.
I really think it's kind of funny how you were saying that we were supposed to walk away from this unhappy, basically, and I told you that I didn't think that a lot of people would, and that's exactly what I'm seeing in Reddit, where a bunch of people are like, this was my favorite book, or like, this was great, I'm really sad that so many people didn't like it.
Yeah.
And other people are like, the only interesting part was a reveal at the end, which became much less interesting once the prequels were released.
Oh, really? Yeah, I know, that's true. We could run into spoilers for the prequels, so I guess we should be a little scared there.
Should we?
Because you think he got so much shit that he addresses, like, no, silly. Daniil was... Why would you believe Daniil? Daniil was just smoking robo-crack or something. Like, you could just say it was lying. Ha. Any of these guys you could just say are lying, and then my plot was never... But again, there's no way out of it. Because however he gets out of this...
either of the sequels, but you're right, Earth was even weaker than Edge. Then the next guy goes, I found Edge much weaker than Earth.
Really?
It was my least favorite in the series.
That's strange. Yeah, I don't know. We both agreed Earth is weakest. Yeah, so the weakest part of Foundation series is he draws so thinly.
I like the Daniil moments and nothing else. Fan service.
Oh, nice. That's what they called it. Thank you.
No, I threw that in, but...
Oh, okay. I thought they called it
just hearing someone literally be like, I like the Daniil moments.
Yeah. Look, overall, it was great reading the original trilogy. Recommend them. Two latter stories, not so much. In fact, they ultimately tarnish all that came before it. Like, yeah. That's a good point. Like, it's not just that they're bad. It's that it literally... Hey, look, I'm not buying it. Daniil did all of this. He made Harry come up with psychohistory, the Selden plan, and the founding of Foundation. Only as a failsafe should Galaxia not work out. Only to have a human need to make the choice because that stupid zeroth law that I never liked would have gotten violated. It means we were all a robot's breeding program? Yeah, right.
I like how it makes the link with Asimov's other series, but what I don't like about this conclusion is that Daniil left a taste of, actually, psychohistory doesn't work, so I personally sorted it out with magic, and it kind of broke the previous books for me.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I feel.
Yeah.
And then I like this guy. He's like, the novel is about confirming the decision Treves made in the previous book. Did you think he made the right choice for mankind? Why was he chosen to make all these things that he starts writing out? And I'm like, I don't know that any of that was addressed.
Yeah, was not.
Was the decision nuanced?
Look, he trapped himself with a silly point anyways. While we were recording the last one, I was literally kind of thinking, some of the readers, I was like, we're not explaining this well, but also because it's not that well to explain why our character, why Treves is so important. Like, he just is. He's the chosen one. Like, actually, I've been shitting on Star Wars new stuff. Anakin makes more sense. Like, why Anakin came about is great. I love the lore on that expanded universe with Plagueis and manipulating the Force. So, it's really that Treves is, I'm going to say, the chosen one, because it's more like a video game. Like,
is it true that he died after writing the prequels? Because someone said he didn't want it to end there. He died after writing the prequels, which would explain why it feels like there's supposed to be another book.
Yeah, but the prequels are set, like we said, chronologically earlier. Like I said, he's kind of trapped. What's he gonna do? Go in and say...
he messed it up and was like, let me go back.
Wait, you didn't like that?
Backspace.
Yeah. Because for real, but no, I'm sorry, you said that the robot, if we can't trust the things that people say in these long exposition things that, dictate whole books, that Gaia's real, that they're really psychically connected, that... that Daniil was really doing this all along. If we can't believe that, then I can't believe anything you're going to put in the next books, in the prequels. because what your guy kind of said with no spoilers, so I appreciate it. But he said, "Oh, what happens in the prequels makes it so this isn't so bad." Yeah. Like all of us saying, "Oh, it was all secretly."
But I mean,
I assume like, "Oh, Daniil didn't really control it all."
I mean, yeah, but
I'm saying whatever mechanism he does to do that, saying Daniil thought he was doing it is like, it's still lame. It's still, you wrote it after the fact. However we find that out, we can just be as skeptical of whatever this save is. What happened? What you reading? Hit me.
I've only just started on my foundation journey, but I think your experience matches Asimov's own. He says in a foreword of later publications that when rereading the original trilogy, he was annoyed that nothing ever happened. 3 whole books, and it's just a series of events without any character action. Yeah, like he was... But you didn't have any character growth here either, bro.
Yeah.
So, like, I get...
Anti. Like, they both... Because you keep saying character growth. I'm like, yeah, they do. They both grow so much that you think... But can you really call it growth if nothing actually changed? I don't know what... You had what seemed like character growth. With
I mean, you definitely have things that should have had them change and grow, but nothing. They don't have any actionable place where they can show or reflect or do anything to show that they've changed. They're just going to continue on the trajectory they've been on.
Yeah, I don't know what to compare it to. It's like if two people, they said who they're going to vote for, and they go on this whole journey to see things that go against their worldview, and then they both at the end still say they're going to vote for the same guy. It's like, well then. What was the point? Like, it wasn't really character growth if they really, agreed on these 5 different planets they go to. Like, oh, that's against this policy and that's against this other policy.
I just also think it wasn't that much of even with Bliss. Like, so she murdered things, but then it turns out Daniil was helping her murder things and help her not be so impacted by the killing of things.
Yeah.
And then we also have her like wanting a kid, but she's still gonna have to like go back to Gaia and ask Gaia if...
Oh, yeah, because it's all population control.
Like, it's not like she's like, hey, Pellerat, you and I are going to go make a kid. Mm-hmm. Fuck these people. Fuck that planet. Yeah. I want a child. Like, no. Yeah. I don't know what the point of any of the growth... They're still stuck on these, like, tracks. Like, these characters cannot change
That's
or move.
Super sad. If that... Like I said, I don't care what happens in the prequels, because you can't just keep tacking on explanations that negate the previous point of the book. Like, that's just going to get increasingly silly. So everything Daniil says is what happened. And so if I want to take this, that's what you learned from the robot series, Daniil? Like, that's crazy that he went around with Bailey. Like, this isn't a spoiler. Of course this happens. It's going to be these people working together. You know that he worked with Bailey. He mentioned it at the end of this book. So I don't want to give too much away, but like how that comes about is super cool and like really interesting and really like, I can't believe that he would have so little respect for humanity that now he has to be the nanny state. Like, literally, he's stripping free will as much as possible because humanity can't be trusted. It's like, we made you. The whole point of Caves of Steel is that, oh my god, like I said, unless he's doing this on purpose, esoteric Asimov. Maybe this will make you want to read Caves of Steel, at least not the prequels. What Daniil's doing here is the exact opposite point of the conclusion of Caves of Steel.
I just feel like...
I hope whoever's listening that has read Caves of Steel knows she hasn't read it yet. When you hear what Bailey realizes and what you realize with Earth, all the good things about how Earth is run and all the bad things, Daniil is doing the bad things. I think they'll understand that if you've read Caves of Steel. That just hit me now because people are saying how this really screws up the whole series for them. I'm like, bitch, you could take it all the way back to, Caves of Steel. Take it all the way back to iRobot. Like, this is what you got. Not a working with humans, but controlling all their actions from the shadows. And merging us, and literally merging your brain with what he's tongue-in-cheek has to be saying is an alien, but can't be an alien from everything else in the book.
This is why We really might have to read the prequels real quick.
Oh my god. How long are the prequels? I love the change here that I love Asimov and was so like, can we read it? Let's do it. I'm like a little kid. And now she's like, let's read it. And I'm like, I'm good. And now I want to reread. Guys, she hasn't read Caves of Steel. She hasn't read Neuromancer. She hasn't read Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. These are classics. Classics.
I thought we read Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep
I listened to it a lot. Because again, folks, I can't read.
I thought that
I don't think you read it. I played it out loud a lot, so maybe you heard it.
The prelude is 405 pages.
Yeah, that's almost as long as this one. And that's the first of the prequels?
Yeah.
Prelude first and then, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll sleep on it. But, I don't know. We'll see what we get into next.
Can I read to you the little excerpt?
Alright, read the excerpt.
In the year 12,020 GE, and Emperor Cleon I sits
first.
easily...
You'd think you'd know that, being married to an emperor himself. Funny behind the scenes. I'm the first. There's a whole backstory that makes no sense.
It makes absolutely no sense, but it makes total sense.
My dad was so giga-based. The priest told him, no, you can't name him the first because only royalty get that.
Because his dad was a junior, and he thought that the next one is number one.
Just cue Instagram giga-based music. Alright, so Cleon the first
Cleon sits uneasily
Cleon
on the imperial
I.
throne of Trantor. Here on the great multi-dome capital of the Galactic Empire, 40 billion people have created a civilization of unimaginable technological and cultural complexity. Yet Cleon knows that there are those who would see him fall. Those whom he would destroy if only he could read the future. Harry Seldon has come to Trantor to deliver his paper on psychohistory, his remarkable theory of prediction. Little does the young outworld mathematician know that he's already sealed his fate and the fate of humanity. Daniil.
Yeah,
I'm kidding.
Say.
Oh, that's not there.
It's not there, but it is there.
For Harry possesses the prophetic power that makes him the most wanted man in the Empire. The man who holds the key to the future. And apocalyptic power to be known forever as the Foundation.
But it's actually a robot pulling the strings.
I know, it really sucks the air out of all of it.
Yeah. Actually, Harry Seldon could have literally had that idea pop up in his head to go there. I mean, Daniil literally said he made psychohistory. So whatever work he did on his own there.
Don't get mad, I need to read...
I know, read the intro to the other one?
The intro to the other one.
What's it called?
Forward, the Foundation. Because it's prelude and there's forward.
Okay.
As Harry Seldon struggles to perfect his revolutionary theory of psychohistory and ensure a place for humanity among the stars, the great galactic empire totters on the brink of apocalyptic collapse. Caught in the maelstrom are Seldon and all he holds dear, pawns on the struggle for dominance. Whoever can control Seldon will control psychohistory, and with it the future of the galaxy. Daniil.
Yeah.
Among those seeking to turn psychohistory into the greatest weapon known to man are a populist political demagogue.
Demigorgons.
Demagogue.
I don't think you can read either.
I can't read either. The weak-willed Emperor Cleon I and a ruthless militaristic general. In his last act of service to humankind, Harry Seldon must somehow save his life's work from their grasp as he searches for his true heirs. A search that begins with his own granddaughter and the dream of a new foundation.
Huh?
Yeah, so you want to read Caves of Steel?
Yeah. I would be way more excited to get into Caves of Steel. Sadamente. Look, you could read... Actually, here's how I'll use my Daniil mind control powers on you. Ready? If you read those two, they'll be at the end of the robot series. They'll be chronologically the last. We'll do a whole circle. Because the robot series are like thousands of years before.
Let me see if I can buy the entire robot series. Yeah. Yes.
But you see what I'm saying, right? Like, because the robot series happens.
Yeah.
And then
we'll be
those
meeting
two
up.
will happen.
Okay. I'm down.
And we'll have come like a weird full circle.
Robot series is the Caves of Steel, the Naked Sun, and the Robots of Dawn. There's
not a fourth?
It says only 1 through 3.
I saw a list somewhere because it also mentioned the robot series.
There's the iRobot series.
Yeah.
That's different.
But it is It's not bad to include those if you want.
And there's Galactic Empire.
Yeah. Well, they don't have.
Let me get these.
Yeah, see, like the Stars Like Dust, you don't technically have to do. But yeah, see, some people put the complete robot and Empire, the Robots of Dawn, iRobot, Caves of Steel, Naked Sun, rest of robots.
How come Galactic Empire isn't? It's literally about the Stars Like Dust, you said?
No, I'm saying you don't have Stars Like Dust. Like, where did I see? I saw a better list. Robot chronological order. iRobot, the best of robots. This is it. This is the real order. So iRobot, the rest of robots, Caves of Steel, the Naked Sun, Robots of Dawn, Robots and Empire, and then we could end on, I didn't read Robots and Empire, but that sounds like we're getting to the Empire Age.
And so then we could end on the iRobot series first?
Yeah, we could read that first if you want.
No, I'm asking you.
I mean, that would be first.
Because, there's Isaac Asimov's iRobot to Protect, which is book 1.
Yeah.
I'm so confused. Why does this... So, Amazon lists this as 1. Yeah, and then number 2 is Isaac Asimov at... I swear I know how to read.
She gets a wee bit nervous.
iRobot to Obey, iRobot book 1. But
all I know is I got the list here. We can figure this out off air, but that's probably going to be the plan. Just start the robot series or just a completely different sci-fi book. Whichever you want to do. But if you're good, we can call it here. I'm saying for the listener.
I think we're okay. We've basically ranted, and everyone on Reddit either agrees with us or disagrees with us.
It is polarized. I literally see 5 stars and 1 stars.
So I guess, you gotta just give the book a try. Because it seems like 50% of the population likes it, and 50% of it doesn't.
I assume people are listening to this that have already read it. Unless you're one of them people that doesn't hate spoilers so much, but whatever it is, whatever the case. I think it's strange. Like we said earlier, I think really, if you need the core, I would just read Foundation and Caves of Steel. And if you love Foundation, read the trilogy. Foundations 1, 2, 3. But that's that. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
This one was weird, but I refuse to let it taint the rest of the series. As much shit as I talked about Asimov. He can come see me in my dreams, like Travis kept saying. It came to me in a dream. Maybe the answer to this, it'll all make sense. The answer will come to me in a dream. Come
visit us next time and find out what book we finally ended up picking.
Yeah, that's true.
And we'll hopefully we'll actually be able to I would like to record as we go.
No, for sure. We've been trying.
Yeah.
We've been doing pretty good. It says Robot Tony is the first robot designed to perform domestic duties.
Go, Tony.
Hey,
go.
Tony,
go,
get the
Tony,
fuck over
go,
here.
Tony, go.
Hey, Tony, bring me some gabagool. We're going to have a merger with The Sopranos. All right, guys. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks for being here.
Can you tell it's getting late?
Bye.
Bye.